What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Cinema Essentials. The episode is titled End of the Tunnel, and we learn that Terrence Steadman isn't actually dead, but due to an unexpected turn of events, they're now lost like being in a tunnel, which is why they gave it this title. If you're ready, let's start Season 1, Episode 13. I'm your host Theo. Teabags/throat sends our Brutzi to the emergency stretcher, with everyone calling his name repeatedly to keep him conscious. Meanwhile, Sarah and the others rush him to the helicopter, asking to get him to Chicago Hospital as fast as possible. Standing by the fence, Schofield, Sucre, C-Note, and DB Cooper watch Abruzzi's condition from afar when Teabag arrives and says now there are only 6 left. I count 5, C-Note responds. Gary, furious about being sucker-punched by Lincoln, throws him into solitary confinement after beating him up in the storage room, calling him a fool. When the warden walks by, Schofield asks where Lincoln is and requests a visit. But with only 36 hours left until execution, Lincoln's mind is deteriorating and becoming desperate. The warden says Lincoln will spend all his remaining time in solitary, denying the visit request. Schofield insists it's his right to visit, but the warden says not today, only after tomorrow's final statement will visits be allowed. Sorry, Schofield, he says before leaving. Sucre calls Chicago Hospital, spelling out Abruzzi's name letter by letter, wanting to know his condition. I don't want to hear about your procedures and protocols, Sucre says. But following privacy laws, the hospital hangs up without giving any information. Sucre walks around disheveled with hands in his pockets, telling Schofield and the others that the hospital wouldn't give any information. In the yard, the 5 of them gather and argue among themselves. Schofield says he'll wait for Lincoln, won't leave until he gets out of solitary. C-Note says he won't wait for anyone. Teabag says once the PI work resumes, he'll go through the hole if they don't go through it soon. The guards will definitely discover it. When Schofield says they can't escape with just the 2 of them, C-Note asks, really? Just us 2? He tells them to ask DB and Sucre too. DB Cooper says, Michael, you've done everything you could. If we don't escape now, we won't get another chance. Teabag, with a dismissive look, says adults can make decisions, which prompts C-Note to growl, this fool wants problems, and shove Teabag. When a guard thinks there's a fight and shouts to break it up, C-Note says, no fight, boss. We're just playing around. Then looking at Teabag, he adds, Schofield arranged everything to get this far. People deserve respect, you bastard. C-Note tells Schofield they have something to do this afternoon. Are you planning to escape in broad daylight? You'll mess everything up for all of us. Schofield responds. You can't decide anymore. The train is leaving, little brother. Come along just this once. C-Note says. Schofield replies, damn it, you can't just do whatever you want, and walks away. In the 10 by 10 cell, lighting a cigarette with a match and smoking, is our beloved Lincoln Burrows. Sitting in his cell, thinking about what to do next, when Sucre says if those guys go through the hole tonight, it'll be a problem. The guards will turn the place upside down looking for everyone until they're found. So you're also thinking about running with them? Schofield asks. It'd be a lie to say I haven't thought about it. I've wanted to escape since yesterday. The girl's about to have a baby too. Michael, you can't get Lincoln out of solitary. The guards will be all over us. If Burrows really dies, you'll have to serve another 5 years. Plus, with the whole digging incident, if caught, that's another 15 years. If I were in your position, I wouldn't abandon my brother either. But I also can't bear to watch him die, Sucre explains, while Schofield remains silent, deep in thought. Recovering from his gunshot wound, Nick Savran immediately calls his contact at the appellate court to update them on the current situation. When told they can get the case reviewed if there's evidence for a stay, Veronica says, now it's time for us to go public. We'll raise awareness through the media. There are other murders connected to Lincoln's case too. This is our only option left. Covering the phone's microphone with cloth, C-Note calls his daughter to say goodbye. When she asks when he's coming home, C-Note promises to return as soon as possible and asks her to put Mommy on the phone. The woman, who only knows he's stationed on the front lines in Iraq, asks how he's doing. Same old, woman. Just driving around, being careful not to get dust and sand in my eyes, killing time. The higher-ups gave me leave. I'll be home this week. Don't come to the airport to pick me up. You know how the military arranges things, just wait at home. If that useless brother-in-law is there, call him for a bit, he says. When his brother-in-law asks how he's doing in Fox River, C-Note curses and tells him to get a car ready. After thinking about escaping from prison about 136 times, feeling dejected, knowing tonight's the night they're leaving, Schofield asks Sucre to find him a razor blade. He sterilizes the blade with fire, then cuts into the flesh near his wrist to extract the pill hidden inside his arm. Sucre watches with goosebumps, gritting his teeth. In the prison cell, Father Morse prays with the inmates, asking for forgiveness of sins. At the end of the prayer, he accidentally says, "May the Force be with you." Wait, that's Star Wars. He corrects himself, "May God be with you." Father Morse tells Schofield he'll stay by his side until this whole thing is over if needed. Schofield asks if he can deliver a rosary to his brother. It's important to him. Tell him I gave it to him. Father Morse promises to deliver it personally and leaves. Hey, that's my mother's rosary. Why'd you give it away? Sucre asks. To save someone who's suffering deeply. Schofield replies. When Sucre says, "You know what you're doing, right?" Schofield answers, "I've done everything I could. Now it's God's turn to help." As usual, after doing what he needed to do, like clockwork, he goes to Sarah's infirmary to get treated and bandaged. While Sarah tends to his wound, Schofield asks, "Do you believe in the afterlife?" "If there is an afterlife," Sarah responds. "Why do I feel like you're saying your final goodbyes?" "I don't know." On his way back from the infirmary, he calls out, "Doctor," and takes her soft, pale hand with visible green veins, looking at her with eyes full of tenderness, saying thank you. This makes the young woman's heart flutter like a festival drum. While cleaning up medical supplies and trash in the infirmary, Fat Guy looks under the desk and notices something in the drain grate, thinks for a moment, then leaves the infirmary. Around 4 o'clock, Sucre and Schofield embrace each other, with Sucre saying, "We're going to be lucky." At that moment, with the triumphant voice of a fish vendor from Hagen's Fish Market, Bellick shouts, "PI. Work starts now. Hey!" Wearing PI uniforms and walking with full confidence, it's Michael's crew heading to fix the guard's break room. Father Morse visits Lincoln in solitary and tells him, "I met with Michael today. He's praying for you. He told me to tell you to stay strong. He says, tomorrow the Lord will be with you all day," and gives him the rosary Schofield sent before leaving. Outside Fox River Prison, a large crowd protesting the death penalty gathers, chanting for Lincoln Burrows not to be executed, while reporters from various news stations are there to broadcast live. Paul Kellerman's team, hearing about the protests outside the prison, assesses the situation and spots Veronica getting out of a car. Kellerman calls subordinate, who's preparing to move house, telling his wife not to answer the phone while packing. "I'm going out for a bit. Once I leave, I'm not coming back," he tells his wife. When she asks where he's going, he says he has a letter to deliver. Thinking there must be something special about what his brother gave him, Lincoln carefully examines the rosary, taking it completely apart to find a pill hidden in the cross along with a note about when to take the medicine. When they reach the guard's break room, Teabag asks what they're doing today. Schofield says they'll work on regular tasks until 9 p.m. When Teabag reminds him that PI only works until 5 p.m., Schofield says they'll have to make sure it doesn't close then. They remove a wall panel and use a hammer to hit the water pipe connection point until it bursts. When Bellick arrives, he finds C-Note's whole group sitting around looking miserable, all soaked. Schofield says he forgot to turn off the water line, promising to fix it completely by tomorrow. But Bellick says, "Don't even think about leaving through that door until it's finished. Sit and work all night." Then leaves. Having fallen right into their trap, once the guards leave, Schofield's whole group smiles and laughs. The news station and Veronica coordinate, and when everything's ready, the program host begins interviewing lawyer Veronica, who's following Lincoln Burrows' case, asking about the case developments. She mentions submitting a motion to stay the execution, and reveals that key witnesses Letitia Barris, Crab Simmons, L.J. Burrows' mother Lisa, and character witness Father Morse's deaths weren't accidents, but deliberate assassinations. She also announces that according to a confidential source, whose name can't be revealed for security reasons, Terrence Steadman wasn't in the car on the night of the incident. Watching the news broadcast, Vice President Caroline Reynolds tells Paul Kellerman, "Someone's making us the scapegoat." Inside Fox River Prison, the warden and an electrical expert carefully inspect the electric chair that will be used for lethal injection. After the news broadcast ends, Veronica visits Lincoln Burrows and finds him in a dark cell. She firmly demands they turn on the lights, threatening legal action if they don't, citing the defendant's rights. Once in the lit cell, they embrace tightly. She tells him she's filed for a legal stay with the court and will soon meet with someone who knows the truth, which will prove his innocence. "Whatever Schofield has planned, you don't need to do it anymore. We can resolve this through proper legal channels," she says, giving him sweet kisses. Paul Kellerman arrives at subordinate's house and sees that almost the entire house has been packed up. When asked where they're going, the wife says they're taking a vacation to the Bahamas. You know how women are, packing everything until the house is practically empty. In solitary confinement, holding the small pill and thinking, when Lincoln asks a guard what time it is, the guard says it's a little past 8 o'clock, so he swallows the pill. Until 8:15, nothing unusual happens, so he keeps banging his head against the wall thinking. Around 9 o'clock, he barricades the cell door from inside with an iron bar and removes the coverings over the hole, getting everything ready. Shortly after taking the medicine, its effects kick in immediately, causing Lincoln Burrows to scream and writhe in his cell. The guards immediately rush him to the infirmary. When Sarah examines him, she determines it looks like food poisoning and says he'll be fine in about an hour. In an alley behind Highland Coffee Shop in the Kennedy district, Veronica meets with Paul Kellerman's subordinate. Daniel Hale says it's a long story, but there isn't much time. Lincoln Burrows can be saved. Lincoln was chosen to assassinate Terrence Steadman that night, but Lincoln didn't kill him. Then who killed Terrence Steadman? Veronica asks. Nobody killed him. Terrence Steadman is still alive to this day. The envelope I'm giving you contains all the information and names you want to know, he explains while noticing a car approaching and telling Veronica to hide. Master Paul Kellerman gets out of the car and says, "Your wife told me everything. Where's the lawyer? Have you met her yet? What did you tell her?" He points a gun and takes Hale's gun from his jacket, causing the hidden envelope to fall. When Paul Kellerman reads it, he discovers it's a confession letter containing everything, including his own name. Though they were once training partners and colleagues, when Daniel Hale found his conscience and crossed to the light side, Paul Kellerman, who remained in darkness, decided to continue being evil and shot Daniel Hale dead. Led by Schofield from the front, they crawl through the pipes to reach the storage room under the infirmary. Only when everyone's in the room does Schofield notice that the pipe his brother was supposed to come down through has been replaced with a new steel pipe. He tries to break it with an iron bar nearby, but, "I apologize to everyone," he can only say. True to the episode title End of the Tunnel, they reach the end of the tunnel as episode 13 concludes. Will they find Steadman? What will Michael's group do next? And will Lincoln escape or face execution? We'll have to wait and see in episode 14. Since we'll continue presenting this series daily until the end, please like and subscribe to the Cinema Essentials channel. Thank you all for watching until the end.